Dan, good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you guys today?
Doing well.
I'm a little bit curious today because the injury report comes out, and we've talked about. There's a couple of things that are on my mind about it. Number one being, what mystery candidate will suddenly be on that report this week? Two being, who will they have brought back too early, who has to go back on the injury list with yet another injury? The whole DeAndre Swift thing is confusing to me because he's been on the injury list for most of the year, it feels like, just with different issues. It hasn't been like the one problem the whole time. And, when we were talking about it, I noticed that the great ESPN football man, Adam Schefter, had listed him as a guy who was going to be out on Sunday morning, but obviously he was active. But they treated him almost as if he wasn't quite fully set. He started the game, but he didn't get the first carry of the game, and he didn't get a lot of carries till later on in the game. I just wasn't sure if he had talked his way in or what had happened that he was listed as out by Schefter, who's talking to everyone, versus being active for the game.
Well, I give Swift a lot of credit because he, throughout his time here and certainly during his career, has found ways to remain available. And you guys know how important that is on a team to no matter what's bothering you, you find a way to be on the field on game day. And so, look, the running game wasn't what it was Sunday as it had been the previous two games. I think part of that was game flow in those middle two quarters where you didn't have the number of sustained drives that you were hoping for, and Baltimore kind of took advantage of the game. But on the topic of the injury report, the Bears are so depleted in the secondary, and they're low-key dealing with some stuff in the receiving core now, guys, where we're going to have to keep an eye on what's the status of Olamide Zaccheaus, who left the game Sunday with a knee issue. Luther Burden, at last check, was in concussion protocol. And so now all of a sudden, these two areas of your team that you came into the season feeling really good about the depth, it's being tested pretty significantly.
So I think you look at this challenge with the Bengals, and it looks easier on defense because of where they are statistically. And you wonder, is this a great opportunity for Caleb Williams to turn things around? And how much does he have to do that? Because, Dan, I was slightly surprised. Ben Johnson, who has been candid, pretty open and honest, he is the truth teller. He said that Caleb Williams had a good game. And I wonder if he's playing good cop. I wonder how much of that is coach speak, and I wonder how much of that he believes.
Did he say he had a good game, or did he just say he was a little bit more encouraged reviewing the video than he was when he left?
Fair enough. You're right. Probably semantics.
I think there was a difference there.
You're right.
Yeah.
He said he improved. He said he improved, which meant he was better than.
He said he played better that Sunday than he did the previous couple games, I believe, and that surprised me.
Well, I would agree with him in regards to the Saints' performance versus the performance in Baltimore. It was, you guys know this by now, that these evaluations get clouded by the end team results sometimes. And so it felt so much more discouraging that the Bears had this big missed opportunity in Baltimore on Sunday, and it left you going to bed Sunday night being like, man, that just wasn't it. But the quarterback didn't play any better and was probably a little bit worse in the home win against the Saints. And so you kind of have to take away the team result and see it through clear eyes. And I was actually surprised when I went back Monday and watched Caleb on the video and just felt like there was more positive moments in the game against Baltimore than there had been the previous couple of weeks. Now, some of the mistakes were huge, and obviously we know the interception was game-changing, and I think we can all agree as we sit here on October 29th that the quarterback has to be a lot better if this team has any chance of going where it wants to go, and right now it's just been too uneven, and there hasn't been enough of a significant breakthrough in key areas from Caleb.
When we look at where he's at, I mean, he's I said this to David, I still feel like he's going to get better as the year goes on. Like he's still working through some of these things. I know we're talking about accuracy. I know we're talking about a check down play where he threw the interception. And I get all of that stuff. But I feel like as the season goes on, there will be improvement, and in another month he'll be better than he is now. Like that's, you know what I mean? Like
so I do.
Yeah. Do you disagree with it, or do you agree with it?
I've just been surprised here in town this week at how knee-jerk the fan reaction has been to everything, and how just sort of urgent it is. I think we all realized that this chemistry with Ben was going to take time to develop, and we had to give it time to develop. And so you're entering a stretch here in November where you play 5 different types of games against 5 opponents that are going to challenge you in different ways. And I would just like to put out a rule to the world out there that we just, hold this November evaluation until we get to the Saturday of Thanksgiving week. And we've got this sample size of 5 November games that we can look at and compare it to what we saw in October and September and sort of feel the growth out that way, rather than riding this week-to-week roller coaster where it's like, there's a win and everybody's, ecstatic, and then there's a loss and everybody wants to jump off the side of the building.
Dan, okay, Adam Schefter is reporting that the Bears are signing Chauncey Gardner-Johnson to their active roster. In the last 5 minutes, that's what Schefter is reporting. Breaking news here on The Score, brought to you by Wildfire. And I think it's an interesting move. He played for Dennis Allen in New Orleans. They know what they're getting, but what they're getting is a guy that's not going to come in that locker room quietly. He certainly is going to be a guy you notice on the field. He's available because I think of the type of teammate he was. If I am accurate with the reputational reports, you just don't know. The football player is a guy that obviously has a lot of good experience. You wonder how he fits. You wonder, does this show you how desperate they are without Kyler Gordon, because maybe he can play the slot? What's your initial reaction to the news that the Bears have signed Chauncey Gardner-Johnson?
It's an interesting one for sure. He's been a lot of different places. I'm going to make sure today that Javon Wims and Anthony Miller aren't in the locker room, because both those guys have taken swings at Chauncey Gardner-Johnson in the past for the Bears. And so you're getting a guy who's a bit of an antagonist. Be interested to hear the coaching staff kind of explain what they need and what they're looking for and what they're going to get from a guy who's been with the Saints, the Eagles, the Lions, the Eagles again, the Texans, the Ravens. He's been around. And so you got to figure out what's left and what exactly he brings to your program at this time.
Yeah, I mean, but that is an absolute acknowledgement that they are banged up at that position, and they don't have enough faith in the guys that they have, that they can't kind of go without getting some help. And God bless them. I mean, that's a good idea as far as I can tell.
And where does he play? What role do you envision for him? I think we all realize that this challenge Sunday with Jamar Chase is one that the Bears would not like to take at this time, right? Like with their secondary as depleted as it is. Jamar Chase has gotten 54 targets since Joe Flacco became his starting quarterback earlier this month. It's a 43% target share. So you know where the ball's going, and now you better find some one players and then strategies to sort of limit that.
Well, Dennis Allen is a guy that, you give him an extra piece and maybe they can work things around. How do you envision the secondary lining up? Difficult question to answer before you know the status of Tyreek Stevenson.
Right.
But you get a guy like Gardner-Johnson involved, and you do wonder, is he able to play the slot? Is he going to...
That's what my guess would be. This would just be an early guess on how they envision in him sort of taking on the role that they envision for Kyler Gordon, being able to move him around as a chess piece. But I think the coaching staff there is going to have to share their vision today and tomorrow. He's
a game changer. He's a tone setter. He's a guy with Jaquan Brisker. You wonder, that makes that secondary a lot louder. It does seem to be a group.
Makes it a lot
that
louder.
Dynamic is going to be fascinating to follow, because he's one of those guys, Dan, again, not knowing enough about him personally because he's always been an opponent. One of the guys maybe you hate as an opponent, but you like as a teammate.
We'll find out, right? And then for a team, for a team that's dealt with some penalty issues, you better be ready to deal with a few more.
It's a strange move.
It's interesting. It definitely deserves talk today and some explanation from inside Hallis Hall on what they need there. But when we're talking about the secondary guys, it's brutal to look down and see, okay, Jalen Johnson IR, Kyler Gordon IR, Terrell Smith IR, Zay Frazier out for personal reasons since the middle of the summer or the early spring.
Yeah.
And so you've got all these pieces that you expected that you could lean on in tough times, and now you're looking at Nick McLeod and saying, please save us against Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and the rest of the Bengals passing attack.
We had a conversation this morning about Austin Booker being brought up after they waited till the last possible second, and they had a couple of injuries which perhaps is the reason that it cleared a path for him, because you look at him and you don't think that he necessarily fits into the defensive coordinator's vision of what a defensive end is. But with Shamar Turner, who was, I believe, a defensive tackle, but playing end, with him out for the rest of the year, Austin Booker comes in. We didn't know if he would get plays. I'm saying 12 to 15. I think both David and Dustin said more like 15 to 20. Whatever it is, maybe he doesn't play at all. Like, I don't even know what they're thinking in terms of Austin Booker. And he had some sack numbers against second, third string guys. Hasn't played all year. Hard to make an impression when you're not on the field.
There's an opening here because the news we got Monday was that Dom Robinson would be out for a while with a high ankle sprain. Shamar Turner to IR. Your defensive end depth is incredibly tested. Daniel Hardy, primarily a special teams guy who might have to take a heightened role on defense now, and then Booker, who's not known as a real true run stopper, is going to have to contribute to the run defense, because they thought that they found something with Shamar Turner playing out at end and helping them with their run defense in that regard, and now that's gone for the rest of the year. And so I don't know where the answers are up front. You guys could maybe spend the 8 o'clock hour going through every splash play you've seen from Dio Adengbo. You'd probably be done by 8:02. So they're going to have to find guys that can make plays up front, because that's a huge signing that has produced nothing to this point through 7 games.
That's the thing when people ask the question about, well, at the trade deadline, should you go after an edge rusher? You know what?
They already did.
They already did. And you've devoted so many resources to the defensive line. You can't afford to waste draft capital on somebody else to try there.
If you looked at Adengbo's contract, they can't get rid of him next year. He's here. Dan, I'm curious, when we talk about where they could help themselves at the trade deadline, and I think David feels they're better off trading than acquiring at this point. I kind of feel like a sneaky good move for them might be a late round pick. I'm talking a late round pick for a guy that could run inside the tackles. In other words, if you could improve your running game to the point where DJ Moore could play receiver, that might work out better for you than trying to run him inside, or do they have anyone to run inside?
I just don't know what that shelf looks like, right? I know Bigsy always talks about the O-lineman store. The running back store at this time of year isn't overflowing with inventory either. And so, look, like I'm all for window shopping. I'm all for sale searching and seeing if you can find something. I think this trade deadline may pass, and it's just very, very quiet around here. I've said that before and been very, very wrong. And so there's always surprises at this time of year. I just don't know what they're going to find that matches up with need and cost at this point.
Same. I think you're exactly right, Dan. Thanks for the time. Look forward to talking to you later.